Tackling your English ATAR exam is like attempting a 1 rep max back squat event. Without the luxury of spandex. Just like a seasoned lifter doesn't lift the heaviest weight on the big day without training, you're about to run into the ultimate exam simulation. The trial run. It is your ironclad preparation for the big day. And remember, to breeze through the challenge, you gotta flex those mental muscles, pump that time-conditioned adrenaline, and conquer it like the true EAMS champion you're destined to be.
Everything you need to easily pass English ATAR. English ATAR made simple. Powered by Saints Coaching.
This is the ultimate practice lesson, and I'm sure you can guess what it is. Before we see what's under the hood, make sure you have seen the previous lesson to this one, the first lesson in Module 6. It provides some essential tips and tricks on how to complete an English exam, all of which you'll be required to use while completing the trial run. And by extension, your mid-year exam, your mock exam, and your WACE exam. Let's not beat around the bush. Lesson objectives. What are we looking at today? First up, we have to address the elephant in the room and just directly tackle what the trial run is. After that, I'm going to underscore why you need to do the trial run. Once I have convinced you, and I'm confident I will then explain the guidelines for completing the thing. After that, speaks for itself. What is the trial run? Let's just get it out of the way. The trial run is an entire practice exam, which you'll complete under time conditions. Sweet. This lesson has 4 sections, that's one of them done, and one of those 4 is a simple summary. Let's just keep moving. Why you need to do the trial run. But first, an analogy to set the scene. I like to call this analogy Justin, Steve, and the 1RM back squat event. If you're unfamiliar with the term 1RM, it means 1 rep max, and it refers to the amount of weight a person can safely lift in a given weightlifting movement. For example, I might be able to squat 100 kilos for a maximum of 1 rep. If I tried to do a second, I probably wouldn't be able to finish the complete rep, and I'd probably fail it. Hence 100 kilos being my 1RM. So we're on the same page. What does this have to do with English ATAR, an exam? Justin, Steve. Sit down, relax, it's story time, grab a cup of tea, let's do it. There's a local juniors weightlifting competition in 10 months. One event in the competition is a 1 rep max, 1RM, back squat. Last year, the first place prize for this event went to Andrew, who squatted 100 kilograms. That's our background info. Now let's check in with Justin and Steve. Compare the pair. They're mates at school who have just discovered the joys of resistance training. This is Justin. This is Steve. They see an ad for the local weightlifting competition and enter the 1RM back squat event. As a result, Justin and Steve both set the same goal: to squat a 1RM of 100 kilograms in the hope of placing first and winning the $1,000 cash prize. Justin creates and implements the habit of going to the gym 3 times per week. Enter the lesson on goal and habits back in Module 1. One of those 3 sessions is dedicated to squatting. So that's what Justin's doing. What about Steve? Well, Steve doesn't start squatting, and reasons: it'll be fine, I've got heaps of time to train. 9.5 months later, our good friend Justin, he's in the gym. Last week, he achieved a PB, a 3RM at 95 kilos. Justin's trained consistently over the past months and feels ready to attempt the 100 kilogram 1RM before the comp. He's warmed up, and for the first time in his life, he performs a squat with 100 kilos on his back. The rep was hard, but he now feels more confident than ever going into next week's competition. I think it's fair to say Justin's traveling pretty well. What about Steve? Steve's in the gym. Last week, he hit chest and buys 4 times. The last time he squatted was 2 weeks ago to pick up his fake ID off the dance floor at Metro's Frio. Steve skips leg day. We all know a Steve. He reasoned he'll be fine for the competition because he's got good genetics, so he hits chest and buys again. 2 weeks later, competition day. It's the 1RM back squat event. A few competitors are already eliminated, and as predicted, a 1RM of 100 kilograms will suffice to take first place. Pure coincidence, Justin and Steve are the only remaining competitors. Justin approaches the 100 kilogram barbell. He reminds himself of how hard he's trained and that he lifted this exact weight a week ago. The barbell is on his back. Justin takes a deep inhale, drops down, drives up through his quads, pushes past the sticking point and successfully performs the 100 kilogram 1 rep max. Steve's turn. He looks cool, calm and collected on the outside. On the inside, he is a nervous wreck. The barbell's on his back. Steve takes a deep inhale, drops down, drives up through his quads, pushes and doesn't make it past the sticking point. He lets the barbell drop off his back mid-squat. Steve fails the lift. Steve's good genetics failed him. His mind and body weren't adapted to the 100 kilogram load, and consequently, they crumbled. Here are the reasons why I just told you that elaborate analogy. The 1RM back squat event equals an English ATAR exam, whether that be the one you do in semester 1, the mock exam, or your WACE exam. There's only one way to make that event easier. Train for it in advance by putting your mind and body under the conditions it will face on the day of the event. Justin understood this, and it's why he achieved his goal of performing a 100 kilo 1RM back squat in the competition. On the other hand, Steve didn't understand this, and this is why he crumbled under the pressure of 100 kilograms on his back. If you want to achieve your English ATAR related goal that you set in Module 1, don't be a Steve, be a Justin. Please bear that in mind as we return to why you need to do the trial run. Number 1, it is the single most effective way to prepare for an English ATAR exam, period. Number 2, you'll gain a competitive advantage. Lucky number 3, the trial run is the pinnacle of this entire course. We're going to go into each of these 3 reasons in a little bit more depth, but before we do, bear in mind these aren't discrete, meaning some of these 3 reasons overlap. Returning to reason number 1, it's the single most effective way to prepare for an English ATAR exam. Here is a scenario. It's not as long or elaborate as the analogy that we just went over. Grace is in year 12 and wants to study engineering at Curtin next year. Grace wants to get straight into Curtin without doing the stat, which means she needs to pass English ATAR. Grace hasn't studied for English ATAR once, and her average is 40%. The WACE exam is tomorrow. Grace tells me the above info and asks, what's the one thing I should do between now and the practice exam under time conditions? Are you getting the point yet? To hit the nail on the head, doing a practice exam under time conditions, aka the trial run, is so effective because it replicates the conditions you'll be in on the day of the exam. The more familiar you are with those conditions, the better your performance will be, because you'll know what to expect. This is how reason number 1 applies to the 1RM back squat event. One of the reasons why Justin successfully executed the lift was because he replicated the conditions of the event 2 weeks prior. He knew what to expect. That is the first reason why you need to do the trial run. Second reason is you will gain a competitive advantage. The reality is most people won't do a practice exam under time conditions because it's hard. This is precisely how you'll excel in the exam, by doing the hard things that most people won't. I just wouldn't make a big deal about this if I didn't know it worked. Enter my English ATAR WACE exam circa November 2015. About 1 week before the WACE exam, I completed an entire practice exam under time conditions. Basically, I completed my own version of the trial run. It sucked, but it was the best thing I did to prepare. Completing the trial run taught me things I couldn't have learnt any other way, such as I wasted time choosing which questions to answer. I didn't adhere to each section's total time allocation, the ones we learned in the previous lesson, the English ATAR Made Simple exam strategy, and I tried to use too many big words, and consequently, the clarity of my writing suffered. I was acutely aware of all of those insights on the day of the actual exam. I vividly remember when the invigilator announced, "You may start writing." I looked at the bodies around me and I swear to God, I could almost see the stress radiating from each one. At this moment, I felt more confident than ever, knowing that most people in the examination hall hadn't completed an entire practice exam under time conditions beforehand. Simply put, I knew the trial run gave me XP that other people in the exam hall didn't have. I knew I had a competitive advantage. How does this competitive advantage relate to the analogy about Justin and Steve? Justin's successful execution of the 100 kilo 1RM before the event boosted his confidence, and increased his XP. This confidence and experience gave Justin a competitive advantage. Our third reason why you need to do the trial run, it is the pinnacle of English ATAR made simple. Rewind all the way back to Module 1. I told you what the entire strategy of the past English ATAR roadmap is. If I was to distill the entire approach that this whole course takes, it would be this. This is the PAIR methodology. Mastering an English ATAR exam means acing English ATAR. The trial run is your application of everything that you've learnt. If you can't do the trial run, you can't do any of those other 3 exams that actually count. Hence, this lesson, it's the pinnacle of this entire course, this thing that you've worked so hard on over the last few weeks, months, maybe even years. Everything you've done in AIMS up to this point has prepared you for the trial run. Completing the trial run prepares you to complete a legit exam. The content in AIMS up to this point, the trial run, legit exam. This is how you should do it. This is how you shouldn't do it. What's wrong with this picture? Content in AIMS up to this point and then legit exam. It has no trial run. Don't do it that way. Please do it this way. It's 3 hours of your entire life that will increase your chances of getting straight into university because of passing English ATAR, if uni is the path for you. The content in AIMS up to this point has taught you how to prime your mind to learn and achieve goals, Module 1, the key concepts from the syllabus, Module 2, how to command the comprehending section, Module 3, how to rule the responding section, Module 4, how to conquer the composing section, our somewhat lengthy Module 5. My point here is that you know how to excel at each individual section of the exam. But that's not the same as knowing how to excel at the entire exam. Bearing that stuff in mind, the exam is like an iron distance triathlon. This consists of a 3,800 meter swim, which we can liken to the comprehending section. After the swim, there is a 180 kilometer ride. We can think of that as the responding section. And once that is done, there is a 42 kilometer run, and that is like the composing section. Here is the point. Being able to perform these events separately doesn't mean you can perform them collectively. All the content in AIMS before Module 6 enabled you to perform each event separately. The previous lesson, the first lesson in Module 6, taught you how to perform the events collectively. The trial run allows you to put that knowledge to the test, to put that how to the test. That is why it's the pinnacle of English ATAR made simple. And this is how reason number 3 applies to the 1RM back squat event. The pinnacle of Justin's training was the trial run when he performed his first 100 kilo squat. Importantly, the trial run was a prerequisite to his successful execution of the 100 kilogram 1RM on the day of the competition. That was necessary for him to win. Putting this in a formula, I love formulas. Who doesn't love a formula? It makes English easier. We've got Justin's training, led to his first 100 kilo back squat, the trial run, which then enabled him to win the competition. This is how you do it. This is not how you do it. Justin's training, competition. What is missing here? Please, please, don't do it. Do this instead. Do the trial run. All right, enough with that stuff. Guidelines for the trial run, which are very applicable to actually completing the exam. Guideline number 1, find a location where you won't be interrupted. Location. 2, ensure you have the right stationery. Stationery. 3, eliminate distractions. Distractions. 4, get someone to invigilate your exam. Invigilate. 5, start the trial run at 9:20 a.m. Oh yes, 9:20 a.m. 6th and final step, arguably the most important. Don't think, just do. Number 1, let's talk about location. Look, not too much to say about this one. A couple of my suggestions. 1, any enclosed space with a desk at your home. 2, a public library like the State Library or Reed Library. Guideline number 2, stationery. Note the standard items or things that you can bring into the exam. This is what will be on the front cover of your exam booklet. Pens, pencils, sharpener, correction fluid or tape, eraser, ruler, highlighters. There shouldn't be any surprises there, but I do want to address what is on the second page of the exam booklet. This second point reads, do not use erasable or gel pens. I know erasable pens are the GOAT, but heed this lesson. The only exam I ever received back at uni was a property law exam that I completed in 2019 in semester 2. I received back that exam at the beginning of 2020 in a follow-up unit to property law, land law. I wrote that exam back in 2019 with an erasable pen, and when I got the exam back in 2020, I noticed all of these words were missing. Initially, I had no idea what had happened to the paper. Then I realized what enables you to erase words with an erasable pen is friction, which involves heat. And there had been 3 months of summer between me completing the exam in 2019 and me getting it back at the beginning of 2020. To prove the point, I did a little experiment to show you what my exam paper looked like. This is before. Assume this is the paper absorbing heat. This is the piece of paper after absorbing that heat. Now, the WACE exam is at the end of October or beginning of November each year. That is nearing the end of spring and the beginning of summer. There will be some warm days during that period. Just don't take the risk of this happening to your exam by using gel pens or erasable pens. That's enough about erasable pens. 3 more things I'd like to say about stationery. This handbook, Year 12 Information Handbook 2022, Part 2 Examinations, or the most current edition of it, is where you can get all the information on what to do and what not to do in an exam. This is on page 22. Items should be contained in a pencil case made of clear materials. Note, watches are an unauthorized item. Sad face. No candidate will be permitted to take a watch into any examination room, written or practical, unless they have an approved special exam arrangement. Unauthorized equipment includes but is not limited to the following items: any watch, analog or digital or Fitbit or similar device. Next, you may bring water into the examination in a clear plastic bottle with all labels removed. The water bottle should have a secure lid and have a capacity of no more than 1,500 milliliters. Oh, this is 3,000. Yeah, definitely no go. Cool. That is the guideline about stationery. Guideline number 3, distractions. Just eliminate them. Distraction number 1, devices. Yes, I am going to the cliche. But other ones include smartwatches, yes, bit hypocritical here, I know, laptops, and headphones. If you're tempted to wear headphones because they help you get in the zone, they help you eliminate background noise, and they improve your concentration and focus, resist that temptation. It actually pains me to say that because I can't work without my noise-cancelling headphones, but it really does do you a disservice in the exam. Why? Because in the exam, unless you have some sort of special arrangement or consideration, you're not allowed to wear noise-cancelling headphones. So if you prime your body and your focus, your concentration to rely on what those noise-cancelling headphones do for you, then come exam day, that's not going to do you much good. Replicate the exact conditions and you'll do better on the actual day. Fast forward to a future guideline. If you can't get someone to invigilate your exam, you'll have to use some sort of device as a timer. So if it's a smart device, turn it on do not disturb or airplane mode, anything that blocks out notifications. Distraction number 1, devices. Distraction number 2, people. If you're completing the trial run at home, let the people you live with know that you're doing a practice exam, and you would be very grateful if they kept the noise to a minimum. Parents or guardians should respect this request. Siblings might not. Distraction 3, your mind. Your mind can do some funny things during an exam. If it wanders off, take 1 box breath. Here's a brief reminder about what a box breath is that we looked at in the previous lesson.
Samavritti pranayama, or box breath. Let's dive in. I love this practice because it is so simple. All you need to do is breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, exhale for 4, and then hold on the breath out for 4. Imagine you're drawing a box with your breath.
Do that if your mind wanders or you start to freak out a little bit during the trial run and the actual exam. Guideline number 4, get someone to invigilate your exam. An invigilator of an exam is one of those people in the exam hall. They're not your teachers, they're kind of these random people. So they supervise you doing your exam to ensure it all runs according to procedure. Because that is something that occurs in the actual exam, if your environment permits it, ask a friend or family member to invigilate your trial run. This invigilator will announce when, firstly, it's time to start your reading time, then when it's time to start the actual exam, when 15 minutes are remaining in the exam, and when it's time to stop writing. As I noted in Guideline 3, use a device if you can't access an invigilator. Guideline number 5, 9:20 a.m. or whenever the exam you're studying for starts. This one is highly underrated and I cannot stress how helpful this will be. If your WACE timetable is already published, go and check out when it starts. Chances are it will be at 9:20 a.m. This is the most important guideline, really, because it forces you to establish and practice your pre-exam routine. For example, what time you go to bed the night before, what time you wake up, what you have for breakfast, etc. Doing the trial run at the same time as your actual exam, meaning you won't waste energy thinking about trivial things on the big day. Doing this means you can just go on autopilot and preserve energy for what really matters. Let's look at the 6th and final guideline. Don't think, just do. This is Maverick's advice to Rooster in Top Gun Maverick, and it is quite relevant in the context of English ATAR. The anticipation of completing a 3-hour and 10-minute practice exam is much worse than the reality of actually just doing it. So stop thinking about it and just go and do it. And we're at the end of the lesson, just like that. Boom, done. Cool. First part of the lesson, we address this threshold question. What is the trial run? It's an entire practice exam, which you'll complete under time conditions. Then we discussed why you need to do the trial run. We started off this discussion with our analogy of Justin, Steve, and the 1RM back squat event. The back squat event equals an English ATAR exam, whether that is your semester 1 exam, your mock exam, or your WACE exam. There's only one way to make the event easier. Train for it in advance by putting your mind and body under the conditions it will face on the day of the event. Justin understood this, Steve didn't. Don't be a Steve. Be a Justin. Turning to the actual reasons why you need to do the trial run. It's the single most effective way to prepare for an English ATAR exam. Mainly because it replicates the conditions you'll be in on the day of the actual exam. The more familiar you are with those conditions, the better your performance will be because you'll know exactly what to expect. Reason number 2, you'll gain a competitive advantage. Reality is most people won't do an entire practice exam under time conditions because it's hard. Remember, this is precisely how you will excel in the exam, by doing the hard things that most people won't. This will give you invaluable XP points that most people in the exam hall just won't have. Because of this, you'll feel more confident than ever, and ultimately, you'll gain a competitive advantage. Third and final reason why you need to do the trial run. It's the pinnacle of this whole bloody course. Remember that little formula? Everything you've done in AIMS up to this point has prepared you for the trial run. The trial run then prepares you for a legit exam. Finally, being able to complete each event of an iron distance triathlon separately doesn't automatically translate to being able to complete them collectively. That is why the trial run exists. Those are our reasons why we should do the trial run. Here are some guidelines for it. Number 1, location. Find a location where you know you won't be interrupted. Some suggestions: enclosed space with a desk at your home or a public library. Guideline number 2, stationery. Ensure you have the right stationery. What not to bring: erasable pens and watches. Important notes: pencil case and water bottle must be clear with no labels. Guideline 3, distractions. Eliminate them. 3 main distractions. One of those is devices. Potential solution to mitigate that distraction: airplane mode. Sorry, Android users, I got nothing. Distraction number 2, other people. Potential solution: just kindly request silence. Distraction number 3, your mind. Potential solution: some box breathing. Guideline 4, invigilate. Get someone to invigilate your exam. Alternatively, if an invigilator isn't accessible, use a device to keep time. Our 5th guideline, the most important: start the trial run at the same time your actual exam starts. This forces you to firstly establish and then practice your pre-exam routine. This means you won't waste energy thinking about trivial things on the day of the actual exam. Guideline number 6, don't think, just do. Remember, the anticipation of completing a 3-hour and 10-minute exam is much worse than the reality of actually just doing it. So don't think, just do. That is it for this lesson. I sincerely hope that I have convinced you that doing the trial run is a no-brainer. A nice way to implement this idea of don't think, just do is just to focus on completing one phase of the AIMS exam strategy at a time. Just do the first one and then the second one rather than thinking about all of it at once. Before you know it, the exam will be over. Remember, the anticipation of the thing is much worse than the reality. So, one more time, don't think, just do. I won't see you in the next one because it's a non-video lesson, but I will see you in the one after. Yeah! Until then, keep it simple.